No, don't. Do not stare at me, because I'm dark. The sun has darkened my skin.
There is great treasure in darkness. And you, my darling, are dark and lovely. You are altogether beautiful. Yes, you are beautiful in every way. You are flawless.
The appointed time had arrived for Carnelian the sovereign, emperor of Carnelian, to summon all rulers of the high places and hear their report of doings. It was at this time that Wida, a wicked satrapine from the second heaven, presented herself in the throne room and bowed before Carnelian and his only son, Yesunim. Most High and Lord of all realms, greeted Wida through clenched teeth. Yesunim, beloved son of the Most High, the taut-jawed, insincere greeting hardly masked her contempt. Wida resented being summoned to the third heaven, the settlement of the Carnelian Empire. Revisiting her former home stirred an unexpected longing for life before the Rogue Rebellion. She ignored shadows of regret by reminding herself of her elevated station in the high places. This was a remarkable achievement she would never have attained had she settled for her boring station at the port of Orison as a simple dispatcher angel. The port of Orison was an expansive terminal located along the brim of the third heaven and was commanded by Tayo, another dispatcher angel. The port of Orison was home to monumental transmittal towers so tall they pierced through the heavens. The towers were like centuries of electrical, crystalline giants looming over the terrain like brooding guardians. Wida was stationed at one of the towers, and her mundane task was to identify and then gather all the sound frequencies created by the prayers of the image bearers, then transport the prayer frequencies to Tayo. For Wida, this was a bland, unnoteworthy task and void of the prestige and honor she had once coveted of other elite rulers who were assigned more thrilling commissions. But now, she was the most powerful satrapine of the second heaven. Tayo did not share in Wida's discontent with the monotony of their humble duties. Tayo always received each transport of prayer frequencies with deep reverence. With sober urgency and meticulous detail, she oversaw the other dispatch angels of the port of Orison as they carefully readied the prayers for their final destination. Wida seized the Gremacy Empire, a vast domain in the second heaven, using her powerful sorcery and enchanting beauty. However, in the third heaven, her sorcery was as useful as flavorless salt. As for her unrivaled beauty, it shriveled away, leaving her grossly disfigured and most difficult to gaze upon. Her senses disoriented by brilliant flashes of lightning, Wida cowered under deafening rolls of thunder as she crossed over into the celestial borders of the third heaven. Smug assurance as the most feared satrapine buckled easily under the weighty presence of the great Duminim that could be felt all throughout the boundless expanse of glorious Carnelian. By the time she reached the throne room, Wida was like a sapless, withered tree. Wida trembled uncontrollably before dragging her feet into the grand throne room. She considered turning around and fleeing back to Gremacy. Defying a Carnelian summons, especially a report of doings, was unheard of. The penalty was banishment to the outer darkness. But was banishment worth the risk if she could be spared the unmerciful battery awaiting her in the throne room? Could she survive another summons? Each time Wida presented herself in the throne room, she suffered agonizing torments. Out of deep basins forged from the purest gold wafted the potent aroma of fresh incense. She gagged, and her throat burned as she inhaled the strangling incense smoke. Wida's dimmed and watery eyes stung, and her nostrils flared as the incense swirled in the air, forming billowy clouds. Mysterious fusions of honey, florals, and fragrant spices perfumed the grand throne room. Sometimes the clouds of incense were thick. At other times they were thin and hazy. The aromatics delighted Hananim and Yesunim. They reveled in the ambrosial scents, but to Wida, the incense possessed a heady stench. For Wida, the incense was poison, and when the clouds were especially thick, her head throbbed as sharp needle-like sensations pricked her brain. No, she could not defy the summons. She must endure the torment of the throne room just one last time, not only because of the penalty of banishment, but at this summons, if she survived, Wida intended to bring before Hananim more than just her report of doings. And if her scheme was a success, she would never have to obey another summons again.